Hey y'all, Miss B, and I am here to talk about what everybody's talking about, reality check inside America's Next Top Model. I was really excited when I heard this documentary was coming out because the trailer showed that Tyra would be there. In 2003, I was glued. We were all glued to the TV. Like that was when I was like becoming a young adult. And there was no DVR then, there was no social media then, so you had to, with no clips circulating, you had to watch the show as it aired. And I remember the first season, I was like, you could tell the budget wasn't really like given, but you could tell Tyra was really passionate about showing what happens in the model industry on a reality show level. And this is the time where all the reality shows start popping up, like Making It a Band and all the ones that they like, the Osbournes, like all the ones that, the ones that became really big. So it's like, this is good, this is different. And it'll show like, seeing the girls get makeovers, and we were interested in that, and they all lived together. The first season, you could tell like Tyra was really invested and she really wanted this thing to work. And they actually show in the documentary how she went from network to network to network trying to get this show picked up. Nobody wasn't interested until UPN, which is a subsidiary or a parent subsidiary of a parent company for CBS, picked it up. And I remember you on that at that time, UPN, which is not around anymore, had all the shows that wasn't like fit for CBS or ABC or NBC. Like they had Moesha, they had Girlfriends, they had The Game, like they had those type of shows. So America's Next Top Model fit right in. So I was really excited about watching it every year. Every week the episode will come out. And then I remember the first season, I think her name was Adriana. She won. And I was okay, this is good. You could see Tyra really had great intentions at the beginning. Then the second season came out, and the short-haired girl, I think her name was Joanna, she won. The third season was the season I was most heavily invested in, and that was cycle 3, when Eva won. But that was the season where Yaya was in it, Takara was in it. It was a lot of people that we saw, that we see current day still in movies. Like Yaya played Whitney Houston in a Lifetime movie. Of course, Eva went on to do a ton of things, and even Takara, I remember her being in like Think Like a Man and different stuff. When I saw that this documentary wasn't gonna have those ladies in it, I was like, what's the angle? And after watching the documentary, I saw the angle. The angle was Tyra don't give a F-U-C-K about this show other than it being successful after it became this global phenomenon. If that meant embarrassing girls, humiliating girls. I remember the season when the makeover started getting very intense. Like the first season, they would do like, some sewing, some weaves, some dyeing. But when they got to that season when they was pulling girls' teeth out and making Danny, who's in the documentary, close up her gap, I was like, this is too far. This is stuff that they obviously thought there was nothing wrong with them. They picked them. They're there. And if they were real models in the real world, going out doing go-sees or casting calls, if a potential client didn't like the gap, they wouldn't pick them. Or if the potential client did like the gap, they would pick them. It's a lot of different type of models. So when it started getting like that, you could tell that it started to become more of not really about becoming a model, but more about drawing attention to the show. And that's kind of when America's Next Top Model started losing my interest. And I could see, the shade with Janice Dickinson and Tyra saying the little things, and how she would like gaslight the heck out of them. She would pretend like she doesn't know something's going on, like the situation what happened with the girl in Italy, and come and talk about it with them, like a big sister moment on camera. And, just bring, I had a boyfriend that cheated and and she, whatever. And it was like gaslighting them. And they wanted to so badly be accepted by Tyra. They would pour their hearts out to Tyra, and she would take that information and somehow use it against them in a photo shoot or some type of setup or theme for a photo shoot. And that's what I'm like. I was like, I don't like this no more. Like, it's becoming, oh, let me look into the glamorous world, well, not so glamorous world, of how hard it is to become a supermodel, and to no, let me just make good TV. And you could tell after a while that's all Tyra. I mean, like they said in the documentary, that's all Tyra Banks cared about. Over the years, people have said, you know, how Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks didn't like each other. They both came up around the same time. We know Naomi Campbell is a lot. But they also used to say, like, behind the scenes, Tyra pretends to be nice and coy and, oh no, but she's just as bitchier and nasty as Naomi Campbell is. Like, she's a Amanda Priestley as well. I also remember when Mrs. J wrote his book. I kind of read a little bit of it. I think it was on Audible for a minute. I wasn't really interested in it because during that time, I didn't care. But I remember, like they said, when the pandemic hit, my kids who never knew about Next Top Model, my daughter, my oldest, started watching it. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I kind of glanced. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that scene. After like season, I want to say cycle 4, when Tyra screamed at Tiffany, "Whoa, rooting for you," and we see that what went on behind the scenes, like it was more sad that didn't get aired, and you know how Tyra had to be shoved off the set, and it was a lot going on. I lost complete interest in America's Next Top Model. I had no clue that she had fired Mrs. J, who taught her how to walk, Mr. J, J. Emanuel, who was like the creative director, who tell the girls how to pose and what faces to look and angles and the pictures was coming out, and Nigel Barker, the photographer that was known to be on the show. That's how long I did not know. That's how long I stopped watching America's Next Top Model. And I feel like if Tyra lost me as the audience, my generation, during that time, in 2003 when America's Next Top Model first came out, I was just graduating high school. If she lost that generation, she lost the plot of the show. And I think that's what she kept trying to get, and it became gimmicky. And I think that's the thing with a lot of reality shows. You just kind of know when it's time to hang up the towel and let it go. Like it's over with. But all of that, watching the documentary, it was kind of sad seeing Miss J say, he taught girls how to walk, he can't walk, and hear his voice so weak, because baby, he's throwing the shade Miss J used to throw. I used to live for it. He had a stroke, and to see Tyra sit there, 1 minute she's executive producer, but she didn't know what production was happening, or acting like she don't remember a certain girl, or what happened with a situation with a certain girl, or how she would just pretend, some of the things were beyond my control. Like, I'm not the boss. I had a boss. Was absolutely bullshit to me. And the fact that these girls put their whole lives in Tyra Banks' hands just for her to give them a huge F you at the end of the day pissed me off. Like, it pissed me off. And I went to Tyra Banks' Instagram, and she turned her comments off, as she should, because I bet everybody's trying to read her. Tyra Banks does not care about anybody but Tyra Banks. And that was so obvious. And there was how she treated those girls. And even to hear Danny, one of the girls, the girl with the gap tooth, say how she did get signed with a modeling agency but wasn't getting gigs because she was labeled a reality star model. So Tyra did not help any of these women, except a few who are not on the documentary. Like I said, your Yaya, your Eva, at the time Pickford. I think she dropped Pickford and put Marcel, which I think is her middle name, and Sakara. Other than that, you don't see any other girls really doing anything like huge, major on a like big platform. And they won in this documentary, one, because they made it. Also, two, Tyra still is connected to them. I remember when Eva got married, I remember reading under her Instagram post or her anniversary or something, her and Tyra having a back and forth exchange. Like, they're very still connected. Tyra picked and chose who she wanted to succeed, and she knew that having that reality show stain on those girls, they weren't gonna ever make it to become supermodels. Ever. She knew that. She knew that. And she continued on to humiliate them and send them through trauma and all this like, you want to talk about eating disorders, and like, you're broadcasting it on TV. You're like, girls are literally saying watching the show forced them to have eating disorders. It was completely insane. But Tyra Banks did not give a damn about any of that. And gaslit us, basically said she didn't give a fuck. And at the end of the documentary, tell us about another cycle of the show. Girl, we don't want to see America's Next Top Model. Hang it up. It is over with. The jig is up. Nobody likes you, Tyra. I think also, when you become so successful, we kind of saw this with Didi. When you become so successful and you reach that level of success, you want people to grovel. You want people to stay in a certain position and not come up there with you, so that you can still control and be the puppet master. And that's what Tyra Banks does. And that's what she has been doing with these girls. And it's unfortunate to see, you know, how some of them, you know, had to go back to Walgreens, had to show the most embarrassing parts of their young adult life. I can imagine, like, all the mistakes I made as a young adult being broadcasted on national TV for people to see forever. And the person that did it and pretends to have my best interest at heart and not give a fuck. So anyway, that's my brief recap on, like, America's Next Top Model. Like, I lived for America's Top Model. I can tell you where I was when Eva won. I could tell you what I was wearing, what I was doing, because I was so heavily invested in America's Next Top Model that season. I remember they were in Japan eating sushi. That watching America's Next Top Model had me for the first time eating sushi back before sushi became super popular here in America for everybody to eat on every corner. So yeah, Tyra did a huge fuck you to everybody, including the people that helped her build the show, like Mrs. J, Mr. J, Nigel, including all the girls. And the director, I forgot his name, Ken whatever, who also did Making a Band, he was talking to her nonchalantly. At the end of the day, behind all these big old networks and behind all these big shows are suits. Tyra moved, acted like, and carries herself. She's not a man in a suit, but a businesswoman in a suit. And at the end of the day, all she cares about is business. There's no empathy there. She lacks empathy. And I've worked in corporate America for a very long time, and I've ran across a couple of Tyras, men and women. And there's nothing you can do that can fix them. Because in their mind, they're going to see it's right. And they're not going to care about your feelings, your tears, your crying, how it affects you. All they care about is the bottom line and how they can make more money. Tyra Banks lacks empathy. She does not care about anybody but herself. And she just literally sat on Netflix and said, everybody who got a problem with it. So that's my recap, how I felt about it, my thoughts on it. Yes, America's Next Top Model was a cultural phenomenon if you were around that time. And yes, Skinny was in. When no BBLs and titties and stuff like that, Skinny was in. They wanted you to be as skinny as possible. Even if you wasn't on TV. Wasn't curves wasn't in. They wasn't cute then. Getting hips and all of that. They wanted you straight up and down. But was it right? No. And Tyra Banks herself, look how she's grown up. Like now that she's not a model, look how she's shaped. So what was she doing? What was she hiding? And it seemed like a lot of vitriol and a lot of hatred and a lot of embarrassment she tried to do to those girls seemed like it was trying to get her lick back, obviously about something that happened with her. Because again, she lacks empathy. Because I'm sure she feels like nobody had empathy for me. Anyway, y'all, like, comment, subscribe. That's my thoughts on Reality Check, America's Next Top Model. See you next time. Bye.